Hello, everybody. This is Chris Heasley with the Chris Heasley Radio Show. And on today's show, we're going to address a firestorm that's happened in Fort Bend County in the school board race for school board position 3. And there was a conversation that happened between former school board president Judy Day and candidate Angela Collins. That phone call was recorded and posted. And it's caused quite a firestorm in Fort Bend County. And with that being said, I want to introduce my guest. I have attorney Madhu Sekharam. How you doing, Madhu? Good to see you.
Great to be here.
Good. Glad to have you on the show.
Yes, sir.
And we have Katherine Pickle, correct?
Samuel.
God, I'm sorry.
That's
Katherine
okay.
Samuel. Your maiden name was, okay,
Yes.
I got that wrong. Katherine Samuel. And I'd like to say that you are the campaign manager for Angela Collins. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And on the phone, calling in from the Midwest is G2. G2, are you there?
I am.
Awesome. Good
Hey,
to hear.
G2.
Good to hear from you. Good to have the Midwest calling in. And before that, we're going to play the recording on the show and just get it out there for everybody. I would say there's been a strong pressure to censor the video. There's been a lot of peer pressure to sort of get us to go silent on this. And I think that when you do that, you have to expose everything. I think that, lightness heals all wounds. And I think it's for the public to decide. I do not think it's for the elected officials to decide. I don't think it's for the appointed figures to decide. I don't think it's for the sort of the named figures in Fort Bend County to decide, those who sort of deem themselves as the responsible ones. I don't think it's for them to decide. I think it's for the people to decide. So we're going to play this. And by the way, I'd like to make the point. There's been no discussion about the video, just sort of a pressure to silence it. I would say subtle threats. And I don't think that's healthy for Fort Bend County. If we want our schools to be the best, there needs to be complete transparency, because when it's all said and done, this is about the children. This is not about any elected officials. This is not about Angela Collins. This is not about Rick Garcia. This is not about tactics. This is about the children. And so for that reason, we're going to play the audio. Before I say, Kat, do you want to give like a quick introduction on what the video is, or say anything about it, or do you just want to get into it?
Sure. So the video is simply a conversation between Judy Day and Angela Collins. When Judy Day called Angela Collins a few days ago, it's a 20-minute conversation.
And we're going to let it play for 20 minutes uninterrupted. So sit back in your seats. And then afterwards, we're going to have some commentary. So sit back. I'm going to put my microphone over here. We're going a little old school here with this, with our audio. I hope it works out. Let's see. Here we go.
Text you. I was planning to talk to you before you see that. Because I do remember from day one, I told you I probably need to stay out of it, and I can help behind the scene.
Right.
But I just don't want to. I don't want to. Well, I mean, things. Let me just put this way. I'm not in the loop for a lot of changes, which I don't really know what happens. I actually called David the other day, and I told David I don't really understand what had happened. We didn't really have a conversation, but I'm not so sure what has changed. But obviously there's some. So let me put this way, Angela. I believe you will do a great job if you win the election. But Rick has served for 3 years, and at the forum and all that, when he answer questions, he does have advantage, right?
Of course.
He has done it. I do believe you too can do the job, can do a great job.
Thank you.
And I know you're a very good person, and I feel it's not fair just this is my opinion. It's not fair for you to be in the position you are in right now because you were being more than gracious the whole time. I just want to call you to let you know that's what's in my thoughts. And I feel this whole thing is just so unfortunate. People can be so ugly.
And you know, my whole thing was I am, you know, I go out and I talk to the people. Yes, he most definitely should have an advantage over me at the forums because he has been doing it for 3 years.
That's right.
But I've also sat in forums where he has sat there and said, I have not done anything for 2 years, and now that Mark Smith is here, we're getting things done. So I'm just curious, you know, if he's openly admitted that, and I had all of this support, you know, you were very clear, and I'll support you from behind the scenes. David and Sonia were helping me. And we go to Austin, and then 2 days later, Sonia's like, I can't support you anymore. So me as an outsider, you know, I'm not super political. I'm not into the school board drama or anything like that. Me behind the scenes, I'm like, well, what really happened? Because this is not just he has an upper hand because he's the incumbent.
So I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm so sorry, Angela, because I'm not so sure what has changed. So I did talk to David. I just made a comment. I said, David, you guys put Angela in such a difficult position. I said, well, what are you guys doing? I said, I feel really sorry for Angela. I said, this is not fair for her. And so he said he agreed. He said, I agree, Judy. We did. I said, well, but he didn't tell me the reason, and I can't make people tell me the reasons if they don't want to.
Well, and here's the thing. A lot of people think I'm doing this for a party. For a political party.
I know you.
I'm not.
You're not.
That's not why I'm doing it.
You are not. Yeah, that's the unfortunate part because you unfortunately got in the middle of people like Justin Sherrill and people dislike Justin Sherrill, but that has nothing to do with you, Angela. But unfortunately, a lot of those kind of.
Do you know that Sharon Leal, I had an event and she was hiding in the bushes taking pictures of who attended my event?
Oh, no.
She drove her car and parked it in the street with Rick Garcia signs all over it and put her little pole greeting signs all up against her house to intimidate the teachers that showed up to my event that took their signs out of their yard because they're intimidated because she tries to go after people's jobs. She had somebody call my campaign manager's work the other day and try to get her fired.
Oh, no.
This is the people that he has working for him. I have held my head high with grace. I have not said one bad thing about Rick. I have not said one bad thing about anybody. I will continue to do the same.
So Angela, that's why I wanted to tell you, regardless of the outcome, I wanted to tell you, in my opinion, you are a very good person. You have your heart to serve, and you will do a great job if you win. So, I feel very sorry that you're in this unnecessary kind of political battlefield, and people are so. I don't understand what Sharon has against you. You were neighbors, and then she was the one who introduced me to you. I don't really understand what is going on with her, but so I did hear she's telling people, you are telling people to vote for Angie Weisbergy and turn the sign from Cheryl to Angie. And so people called me and they asked me, they said, how, because, okay, Angela, here's the thing.
That's a first one for me.
So I called Cheryl and I asked her, I said, Cheryl, so Cheryl told me, Judy, that's not true. Angela is being very friendly to me. I said, I do not. So I texted Cheryl. I said, Cheryl, I heard this. Sharon is telling people this. I said, I'm having a very hard time to believe.
Judy, I have sample ballots and I highlighted Cheryl's name, even though she's got Rick Garcia highlighted on her sample ballots.
No, I believe you. I trust you. That's why I called Cheryl when the third people called me and asked me, and I said I don't believe it. The first time people call me and say, well, Judy, I know you on paper you endorse the Rick, but I know you've been telling people, Angela, you trust Angela will also do a great job. So they said, well, do you know about this? So I said, well, I don't believe it. So, but the first two times I just tell people that I let go. But the third time I actually texted Cheryl and Cheryl texted me. Cheryl said no. So I just want to let you know. So I went back to the source, to all of them, and I told them I have confirmed with Cheryl this is not true, what they said about Angela. And I said, please stop spreading the rumors about Angela. And I called Rick. I said, Rick, in my opinion, you probably already win the election because it takes a lot to be the incumbent. And I said, just please be nice. And so I don't know why Sharon is doing all this, but Angela, that's not the point. I'm calling you. I'm calling you because I hear all this and I saw something happen. I'm watching this. I'm not in the middle, but I'm watching this from outside. I just wanted to tell you, Angela, I wanted to give you a hug on that day, but I didn't get a chance to. But I just want to tell you, you are a good person. I still remember when you asked me if I can give you advice, I said stay true to yourself. I still feel you stay true to yourself, and I'm very proud of you.
Well, thank you. I'm not going to change for anybody. I am who I am.
Yeah, no, that's what you should be.
I'm not a conformist, and I'm not going to play to each side and just tell everybody what they want to hear.
Yeah, no, you're doing exactly what actually right candidate supposed to do, non-partisan candidate supposed to do. But you just caught into this unfortunate political battlefield. I'm so sorry, Angela. But I just want to let you know, I really appreciate you willing to serve, and I do believe you will do a great job.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, you can ask anyone I talk to about you. That's my comment. But the reason I endorsed the Rick in that way because, we are still under lawsuit. The district still under the lawsuit, and we did serve together 2 years. But I told Rick that's the only thing I'm willing to do. And I was a lot of people call me and ask me if I can at least do.
I thought the lawsuit was dropped.
No. So the lawsuit, the original, that's a lot of people thought, but it's not true. So the original lawsuit included 3 parts. First part was suing us as individual. three of us. The second party suing us as at our official capacity, and then the third party suing the district. And now she dropped the first part and the second part. She dropped the first part like a few months ago, and then she dropped the second part the day before yesterday. And then she's still suing the district for more money. So yeah, so it's still there. It's not dropped. So she dropped because they did a press release because she dropped us as individuals. Like she sued us as individual person.
Right.
Yeah, so she dropped that one like a few months ago, but she only dropped us at our capacity as a board trustee only 2 days ago.
Gotcha.
Not yesterday, but the day before. But she's still suing the district.
Oh, okay. I mean, I haven't had time to watch the news or anything like that.
No, the news didn't report it, like because it doesn't have much news value. So it's. So actually, I tagged you in one of the posts David made, like the TA report. Even that, like, so she has been referred to the local authority for bribery investigation. It's from the TEA investigation, right? So TEA referred her. It's not us. Even that, like. I don't think any people like people I talked to. Almost nobody knew about this, the TA report, or she was referred to the local authority. I think that's the main reason she dropped our names from lawsuit. But anyhow, so even that. The news they didn't report. So Forbes Star actually replied to my comment, and then they blamed the district because it was like before Christmas holiday whatsoever. But no, it's not because you didn't watch it, Angela. It's just because nobody reported it. So,
okay.
But yeah,
I just didn't, I don't understand why. So I feel like that was why I feel like that's why Sonia and David kind of started supporting Rick publicly, was because of the whole lawsuit stuff. But I don't know how that affects
I don't think so. No, I don't. I mean, maybe that's there, but I don't think so. I think I don't think so because they supported you when the lawsuit was active. I was the only one because I was told actually by the district attorney, because I'm not on the board anymore, but I was the board president at the time. And then so they said in case we need to go to the court, I have to be able to show, ever since I'm off the board, I have been like neutral, just not to give them the reason to dismiss my testimony. And so that way, because I need to protect the district. But I don't think they have the same concern because they are still on the board.
Well, I mean, the incident happened while you were on the board, so you would have the same immunity that they have and the same backing.
But not after I got off the board. So because in case we need to go to the court, my behavior or my speech or my behavior or talking to anyone in the community after I got off the board will bring questions to me, to my integrity. Does that make sense? Like I have to prove I am still. If the court hear the case and I need to be the witness for the district, I need to provide the proof. Like I didn't do anything personally or politically to take sides or like will kind of make my integrity being questionable or associate with any political party or anything like that. That's just their advice. So I don't have immunity anymore, like after I got off the board.
That, I don't know. That just doesn't make sense. If the incident happened while you were on the board, I would think you would be covered.
I do. But,
Okay.
but for example, right now, let's say if I issue a statement and I said, okay, this is this and that. Let me just say, okay, I say, this is what happens. Like today, let's just say today, I made a statement saying, well, this is the reason we have to change the superintendent. So I do not have. I made that statement as Judy Day, not as a board member, and I will be responsible to my own behavior, and that will disqualify me to be the neutral or the witness, trustworthy witness.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's why I'm kind of, but David and Sonia, they still on the board. So that's why a lot of information I do not know. They probably have more information than I do, but I don't, I'm not, that's why I told you I'm not in the loop. But when I talked to David, he didn't tell me why they switched or whatever, but I'm pretty sure it's not about the lawsuit. They switched the support because there's I can't think of a reason.
Well, I mean, up until last week, David was still helping me.
That's really interesting. But it's not like, yeah, no, Angela, I don't know why. Maybe you can ask him. You have every right to. And David is a very straightforward person. He will tell you.
Yeah.
But I don't believe.
Honestly, I'm not even worried about it. I have enough support system. I don't.
Okay. Yeah.
Anybody that I have to question their integrity as a person, I really just don't want to be involved with them.
Okay.
Unless it's a necessity. And I will still hold my head high and greet them with a smile and handle it with grace.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that. Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, by the end of the day, we're all doing this, or you are doing this, and I did it because for the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, thank you for your time, Angela. I know how busy you are, and I appreciate your answering my call.
Oh, no problem. I got to get out to the community.
Okay.
Things,
yeah. No,
so.
I understand. Yeah. All right. But thank you for your time, and I just want to call and to let you share my thoughts.
Well, I appreciate you calling me.
Oh, thank you, Angela.
Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon, Angela.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
And that's the end of it. 1 second, guys. I'm just going to bring up some other document here. Okay, and with that being said, there's been, like I said, a serious amount. We'll need headphones because G2's on the line. There's been a serious amount of, I don't know why that's happening. There's been a serious amount of public outcry from the, I would say, the elected class in Fort Bend County to dismiss this audio recording, and that's been done without anyone discussing the contents of the video or hearing from the perspective of the Angela Collins campaign. And with that being said, I think that all parties deserve their say. It's
Absolutely.
simply the American way to give every party their say. And with that being said, Kat, I hand it off to you and tell me what your side of the story is on that.
So, from the call,
Pull the mic up a little bit.
okay, from the call, what I take on it, is that Judy's calling Angela to basically say, I still support you behind the scenes. And in my opinion, it's to cover herself in case Angela is elected. But she has to publicly support Rick to keep herself immune, is what she's saying, is what I'm understanding, right? So if that her behaviors and her actions could make her a less credible witness. So in my opinion, what it tells me is something's hidden, something's being covered up. That's my take on it. And then, if you go even before Judy's call, I've been involved before Angela started running and learning about the district and researching. I went through board minutes and watched videos and the different committee minutes. And so I've been researching and learning a lot, all simply because I have a friend who has a son who was physically abused in the district at Fort Bend ISD by 5 different staff members. And so I took that as, I can't be silent anymore. I've got to, be able to help, because she had just lost her husband and had 4 kids, and she was lost. She didn't know where to go, what to do. And so I stepped in, Angela stepped in. Angela was a lifesaver.
What happened to her? I mean, who are these teachers?
Can we get into that? Can we get into that in a minute?
Yeah, because that shows a culture within the
Correct.
school district. These are criminals abusing a child. You go to jail for
Okay, trust me. I'm going to give everyone all the time in the world. I have
That's
a whole
unconscionable.
whole thing prepared on that. But getting back to the original point, which is that Judy has made it unequivocally clear that she believes that Angela is qualified for the position. She says it over and over again. She says, you can do a great job. You're a very good person. It's not fair to be in the position you are in right now. You have been gracious. You are in my thoughts.
It's not fair how they're treating you.
Right. And all of a sudden, I cannot support you, something to that effect. So she makes it unequivocally clear that she has full faith in Angela, but she can't support her publicly. Why?
Well, can I just speak on that? As far as her political support, that's up to her. She has no legal duty to support any candidate.
Including Rick.
Right. That's her choice. She can vote for whoever she wants, and she can speak to that. Now, to be seen as objective in Fort Bend, I can see her side of it. Look, it's like the presidential level. Until there's a candidate, people don't come out in support of candidates for a reason. Because if they do, and that person loses, then you're in trouble. And you don't have credibility, and no one will listen to you, etc. But as to the board's activities and what she did on the board and legal protections, I think somebody at the district is purposefully trying to silence her and intimidate her. I would like to ask her, who in the district told you that? Was it a lawyer?
Told you what?
That these legal analysis that she is.
Okay, so you're moving on to the second part,
right?
Where she says,
well, basically, this is really important to understand. Your acts on the board, it's protected because you're a public figure. You're acting in your government capacity. You can speak to those activities even after you're out of the position, and you're protected in speaking about your time there. Even 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, just like any other federal official or state official. So that's how you kind of need to look at this. There are two questions. Can she speak on this as a public figure and her political opinion? That's different than being able to discuss legally protected activities as a school board member.
right, because what she does is then she does a hard cut and essentially says, I can't support. I have to support Rick because of the pending lawsuit.
I'm reading between the tea leaves here.
Mm-hmm.
There are people in the district that are very afraid. They know there's a lot to cover up, and they're trying to silence people like Judy and
That's your
scaring
thought.
them.
That's your
And I
concern.
tell all of them, look, there's a real good way to find out what's legal and not legal. Go to court.
Yeah.
Go to court and file the lawsuit or defend a lawsuit and do it under penalty of perjury. And if you're confident of your case, that's what I would encourage people to do. To say, look, I didn't do anything wrong, and if you defame me, I will pursue a defamation lawsuit. Do not try to give me legal advice. You're not a lawyer. I will consult with my own lawyer. And you, the district, have a lot of problems. Fort Bend, I was involved in Fort Bend ISD, so is Chris, so is FMAG since 2015. Very corrupt, all the COVID money. Mm-hmm. I saw the budget. What's happening in terms of KP George and the government, the school district is a microcosm of that, right, Chris? Mm-hmm. We saw that with the county involved in a lot of corruption, and then the school board was just like a subsidiary where they're doling out all these government monies that were coming in under the Biden administration, especially, right? Remember COVID, all that free money was flowing, and that led to massive corruption, which is not surprising. They're trying to cover it up. So there's a lot to cover, including things like these abusive teachers that probably I want to talk to you about what happened to these teachers.
We're going to get a lot of time
because
there.
they need to be reported. They need to be reported to the DA, because you can't do that, and that child needs to be protected.
Because then Judy
That's
goes
unconscionable,
on.
and that is you can't allow people like that operating around children.
Because
Sorry.
then Judy goes on to say something to the effect of, they dropped the lawsuit against me personally. I'm no longer the board president,
Right.
but I can't. What does she say? I can't talk on it. And her and Angela are going back and forth about.
She needs to stop listening to the district.
What was that? What was that point there?
So she initially said there were 3 cases.
Mm-hmm.
One was dropped 3 months ago, which was the one against them individually, the 3 board members. And then the second one was dropped day before yesterday, which was against them and their capacity as a board
See how that
member.
works? See how that works?
Mm-hmm.
This is what we see at the federal level with President Trump. This is what they do.
Mm-hmm.
It's lawfare at the local level. Am I right?
Yeah, right.
This is lawfare. And it doesn't work when you think, oh, wait a minute, I really am going to court, and this person isn't going to bend to my bullying. That's when these folks are paper tigers. And you saw it with President Trump when he said, yeah, let's go to court, and I will expose all your corruption in open court. Would you like to produce all your corruption in open court? And they won't. And that's why they dropped these lawsuits.
Kat, finish your point.
So then she went on to say that the 3rd lawsuit is still active and they're still in the middle of it, which is the one against the district.
She should correspond with the district's counsel and say, look, I'm going to get my own counsel, and we're going to check all of your legal reasoning, because I need my own counsel. I don't trust the district at this point. That would be my opinion.
Right. And she said that, and then she said, and therefore I can't speak, or what did she say exactly?
So then she stated that her behaviors outside of her position as a board member, so her actions and behaviors could jeopardize her integrity, and she would be less credible as a witness.
I think credibility possibly, but it seems that's more like her opinion, and maybe she's thinking about how she's going to be perceived. My opinion to all my clients and people is, look, speak the truth, be loud,
Right.
and that's the best defense, a good offense. If you speak truth to it's not power, corrupt folks. Mm-hmm. Corrupt folks don't like the truth.
Right.
And when you say it loud and you're vocal about it, it shuts them up real quick.
And what does she say about Sonia and David, that they were supporting her and then not supporting her?
Yeah, so she even made the comment that from the beginning of Angela's campaign, they are the ones that asked her to run. Angela did, and they said the entire time they would support her. And then it was just sudden. One day they called and said, hey, we can't support you. And Judy even confirmed that, right? that she didn't know why they weren't supporting her, but that
All of a sudden, on a
All
dime,
of a
they
sudden,
turn and they become not each one of them, but to some degree, some of them become ferocious fighters for Rick Garcia.
correct.
So I want to repeat this. This is because I'm going to explain. I got a comment from a citizen. I'm going to read it in a second, okay? But this is why everyone's suspicions are stirring, because Angela was asked to run by David and by Sonia, and they were supporting her. Judy comes in and says, "Hey, I think you're great. I don't support you publicly, but basically she's saying I support you."
And mentoring her through the process. And up until a week ago, behind the scenes, they were still helping her.
And then on a dime, boom, they turn and say, "I can't do it any longer."
Correct.
And they become fighters for Rick to some extent.
Correct.
And so now
Publicly.
Yeah, and so now Angela's suspicions are stirring. So when she gets a call from Judy, she records a phone call. Right? Well, when when so many questions are up in the air, I can understand she's doing a CYA, okay?
Yeah.
This is a campaign. She's put a lot of time into it. She wants a fair campaign. And if there's funny business happening, it needs to be surfaced.
Right.
So,
Can I just say this?
Please go.
Blackmail is a criminal offense. I don't care how you do it. I don't care whether it's through social media or on the phone or in an elevator through a third party. It is a criminal offense. So anybody that's being blackmailed, I encourage, go to law enforcement and say, I'm being blackmailed and you need to talk with this person.
Okay, here's what one community citizen, one resident of Fort Bend County sent me in a message, and they said, quote, "The narrative is that," and he's speaking for them, right? The narrative is that we, the board members, this is not a board member, I want to make this clear, that sent me this, okay? The narrative is that we are afraid to not support Rick because if we don't, we are not going to get legal counsel. This has been the narrative, unquote. And that, again, I want to make that clear.
That makes no sense. That makes no logical sense. Who's saying if you don't? Who's putting this out in the mix?
That's a comment. It's only a
This
rumor.
is see
Right.
what you said right there. Repeat it. It's only a rumor.
Right.
And what did we see for the last 10 years? Rumor mill about COVID, etc. And it all turned out to be, you know what?
Yeah, I know, but what we're trying to say here
That's
is
what
that
they do. They try to create a firestorm. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, but the point is that a community resident is concerned. I'm going to repeat it again. The narrative, quote, and again, he is saying this not in the first person, right? He's saying it as if he, from their perspective. This is not a board member saying it. Quote, the narrative is we are afraid to not support Rick because if we don't, we are not going to get legal counsel. This has been the narrative, unquote. Now I'm going to make a point. One second. Hold your thoughts. Hold your
I'm trying
thoughts.
to wrap my head around the lot. It's
Hold
just
your
like
thoughts.
Jeez. What?
My point being is that's when we hear this stuff from residents and then we see people switch on a dime, that's when suspicions get raised.
Right.
Gosh.
So what do you think, Kat?
No, I absolutely agree. That is when suspicions get raised. But then a lot of people in the community
There's a real easy
and
there's a-
teachers are scared, right?
There's a real
They
easy way to
push that fear.
There's a real easy solution to all of this. Let's all go to court and work it out, in essence. And if you take that tact with your actions and how you respond to these folks, it goes a long way.
Kat, repeat your point.
It goes a long way.
Repeat your point. Because you said something pertinent at the end.
That they, these kind of things that get pushed around create fear in
Absolutely. That's
teachers.
what they want.
Yeah, so that's the whole question.
That's what they want.
Right.
Is there coercion happening? G2, comment, man. What are you thinking?
What's being laid out here is fascinating. This goes way beyond the normal kind of political intrigue around a school board race.
Absolutely.
There's something much bigger in the room here that maybe we can't see. For it to be obvious to people watching that school board members and former members and people in the political community are being pushed, advised, coerced into not supporting a candidate because of some lawsuit. There's a lot more to this story. And I'm glad that you are all digging into it.
Agreed.
I mean, these are all suspicions, and these are all concerns, but they're not proven. I want to make that clear.
But suspicions, there's a lot of red flags here. So it's not I wouldn't use the word suspicions.
Okay.
There are red flags galore, as he is saying.
Yeah.
There's an elephant in the room. And what do we know? I operate off facts. What have we seen?
Yeah.
At the county judge involved in massive corruption.
So let's get to something here.
So the logic is, of course, the school board is involved in massive corruption. Number 2. Number 3, they would want to cover that corruption. And number 4, they would not want to cover that corruption by going to court. Number 5, they would want to hide the corruption by bullying and using fear tactics, which is what we're seeing. That's using deductive logic, and you don't have all the facts, but we can ascertain that that's logically what's happening
Okay,
here.
it is,
It's a high degree of confidence.
It is a school district with nearly transparency has to happen. Okay?
Absolutely.
This is a school
What's
board
wrong with the sunlight?
with a nearly $1 billion budget, maybe more than $1 billion.
Open up all the books. I want all the books opened and how these budgets work, how these programs. I want all the emails. Board, would you produce all the emails? Would you produce all the phone calls and how this money got doled out? Okay. Because I'd be very interested, and I think the DOJ would be interested.
Okay,
I think the FBI might be interested.
We're gonna go to this bullying incident in 1 second, but I got this comment from another resident of Fort Bend, and they said this, quote, a $1.2 billion bond that is a massive shortfall, and nobody can tell me how much of that bond money went, how much we are paying for construction materials, unquote. So these are the questions, when we see this sort of suspicious activity.
Yes.
And we know
and
that this kind of issues are
still on her own property line, but you start stepping on over that property line, then it's criminal trespass.
Has this been reported to Bobby Eberle?
That's a great question. I don't know if it's been reported.
Does Rick Garcia know that one of his campaign people is doing this?
No, we're not. Unless Angela reached out to Rick Garcia personally, in no way, shape, or form are we trying to sabotage his own campaign.
Well, I'm not saying sabotage. I'm saying let him know this is for his own good.
I'm just talking as a citizen now. And any candidate, if this happened in a campaign, I think a wise decision for that candidate would be, look, I'm a good candidate, and I want to win on the merits.
Yeah, right.
I don't want to use tactics like this.
Right.
And it's unacceptable.
Unacceptable.
Whatever side it is, and I won't do it. And I apologize for this happening. It was definitely not my intention. And
now there was another statement said on there.
That would be my.
It is saying
advice.
that someone associated with Angela's campaign had her place of work called by an anonymous caller.
You can't
threatening
do that.
asking
that's tortious interference.
Essentially asking the employer to, I don't know, making threats to the employer or
that's defamation. And that's defamation. And if you do it, then the defamation you're engaging in, the damages go way up. It's one thing to defame somebody personally, but you start going after their livelihood and their workplace.
Well, see,
the damages say, look, you've hurt my workplace reputation. I'm not going to be able to get work anymore or hired by any company.
Well, we're all
now when a judge or jury hears that, guess what happens to the damage model in a defamation lawsuit?
It goes up.
Right.
Yeah, and I do defamation cases.
Well, good to have you on the show. But I guess my point is that we're all vulnerable to that. So
This
if county politics starts...
Let me just step back from Fort Bend for 1 second. This is absolutely a microcosm of what's happening nationally. All these corrupt folks are out. All their backers are gone. They don't have corrupt legal protection at the DOJ and FBI anymore. And what's happening at the local level is they're out on their own. They've been corrupt. All the money's dried up, and they're freaking out. They're paranoid, and they're trying to do a CYA and cover it. Can you imagine all the money, all the fraud we saw with KP George? But the school district with all that money, look at USAID, just USAID. This is maybe 5, 10%, 15% legitimate spending. The rest pure graft and corruption. So what's the percentage? I don't know what the percentage is, but it's a big number. When I saw those numbers, those budget numbers at some of those school board meetings, my jaw dropped. I thought, oh my gosh, it's like 10 million here, 20 million here, 30 million here.
look-
For what?
So this recording is released, right? We hear it, and the entire county goes nuts, essentially trying to silence it. And here we are uncovering one potential issue after another. We're exposing these campaign tactics. This stuff needs to be discussed. Why would they want
can't
this
use
stuff? Why would they want the lid shut on
I
this?
think we should all agree. Everybody can agree that that is not a campaign tactic. That is invasion of privacy.
Yeah, I
So
mean-
let's get away from, oh, it's just politics. This isn't just politics. Politics doesn't involve this kind of stuff. It shouldn't. And if it does, it needs to be exposed, because you need to win on the merits. You need to put yourself out there, state your stances on issues that the voters are interested in, and you need to win fairly by convincing the majority of voters. And then we'll get to, we can't have voter fraud, and we can't have voter
Okay.
suppression.
All right.
In an ideal
yeah, I mean,
election.
I have no. This stuff needs to be. These tactics cannot happen in Fort Bend County. All parties need to agree on
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
You want to say something, Kat?
No, I was just going to say, and that's why I'm sharing
Yeah.
these video clips, these things that I'm finding. I'm sharing them. It's not to destroy somebody else's campaign. It's simply to expose the truth so that other people can get on
Right.
board and see what's actually going on behind the scenes.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
I think this is a teachable moment.
G2, you got a point, because we're going to move to this bullying case.
I think you guys are doing a great analysis here. I'm anxious to find out what we learn next in this intrigue. I mean, it just, again, it shouldn't be this much drama around a school board race. It should simply be issues, policies, qualifications. This is a whole new thing.
Okay, guys.
Thank you.
So now we're going to move to this bullying case, and I'm going to read a post by the mother of the child. Okay. Okay. And this goes into some more details on her situation. So bear with us with this. September 17th, 2023 changed everything. It was the start of pain I didn't think I could survive, but I did. I made it through telling my kids their dad was never coming home. I made it through the funeral. I made it through admitting a child to a mental hospital. I made it through moving a once thriving child into a self-contained classroom twice. I made it through watching that same child be horrifically mistreated by people at Fort Bend ISD who were supposed to help him. Today, that same child is in an amazing school, healing and growing stronger every day. And if you live in Fort Bend ISD and you are wondering who to vote in the school board election, let me be clear. Vote for Angela Collins. She paid attention. She asked the right question. Because of her, we got the video that revealed the truth. Without her, we would not be where we are. No one talks about how trauma can cloud your thinking, but it does. My boys endured things they never should have, and we are still picking up the pieces, still standing, still fighting, still healing. I shared a video yesterday and then removed it. Originally, I removed the last 10 minutes in an effort to shorten it to make it easier to share. My apologies for that. Here is the full video. I wasn't trying to hide anything. My goal in sharing it is to hold people accountable for their actions. I personally am tired of FBISD trying to hide the mess they are that they have going on. As you can see, I have nothing to hide. Can you get, okay, that's the end of the post there. And Kat, can you give some greater detail, some understanding on that whole situation?
Sure. And it gets me a little emotional, and I'm sorry.
It's okay.
If I get emotional
emotional.
because I'm attached to this story, right?
Yeah.
And like she said, her husband collapsed playing paintball. Playing paintball in front of his kids.
Oh.
This woman, okay.
In front of his three sons. One he fell on top of, the other one watched, and the third did CPR trying to bring him back. So it was very traumatic. She's a stay-at-home mom of 4 kids, 3 biological children, 1 adopted. They were foster parents. And so she went through a lot of trauma herself, right? She just had complete blinders on in the beginning. And so she didn't even notice that her 8-year-old son was being hurt at school. And he didn't know how to tell. He started acting out in the school he was in
Because
Meadows
she's
Place.
dealing with her past husband, and while they're going through this family tragedy, her son, this bullying at the school starts on her
So
son.
it wasn't bullying. He was just trying to express his trauma while he was in school, and so it was anger, right? It was outrage, and he would elope from the school. He would cause bodily harm to the teachers, and they didn't have him in a specialized class, so they didn't know how to handle it, right? And so the school said, "Hey, we're going to have to get him into a different program," and she agreed to do that, and they moved him to another program at another school in Fort Bend. And in that program, they have specialized teachers. They're supposed to have specialized teachers that are trained in restraint techniques and knowing how to deal with these types of behaviors. And instead of them helping and supporting him in that school, that teacher physically abused him. He busted his lip open.
Oh my God.
I mean, I
Oh
could go
my
into
God.
detail, right? There's a lot.
Go.
But
You can get some
Angela,
detail. We have 20 more minutes.
Okay.
so
What happened to that
teacher
teacher?
in that classroom? Hold on just a second. The teacher in that classroom did multiple things, even antagonizing her child to become angry, so that he could abuse him and restrain him. So Angela got involved and started researching and started pulling up, this is how we request it, because those specialized programs have video surveillance in the rooms and audio. And so Angela did all the legwork and helped, dig up, like, hey, because it's not an easy process to request a video. So that parent started requesting videos, and when she finally was able to go up to the school and view the video, she had to remove herself because of the abuse that she was watching on the video.
Oh my! I mean,
As a
that is-
mom,
No.
right?
Let me say this right now, as a parent. You watch your child being abused, and you are going to do anything
Correct.
possible. I know what my reaction would be.
So
It would be not good.
right.
Not
I agree.
good.
So
Because
they brought in
I'm going to take you out. If you touch my child, I
Right.
will take you out physically and legally, and I have every right to. Sorry.
right. So they brought in Fort Bend ISD police, and they did an investigation. And let me just say, Chris, during this entire investigation, it just seemed wonky. It just seemed backwards, like something and sneaky, right? It was drug out and drug out and drug out. In the interim of doing all this, the district police said that they had to send all of the evidence to Fort Bend District Attorney's Office. Great, that's where we want it, right? We want this specific teacher in trouble for what he's done. So in the interim of doing that parent decided, I can't let my kid continue to go to this school. So they opted to move him to another Fort Bend ISD school within the same type of program. Let me just backtrack a little bit. In investigating, we all learned that teacher that was in that classroom abusing him was a long-term sub without any credentials
And maybe not
and
even
no
a criminal
formal
background check.
training in
Maybe not-
restraint.
Maybe not a criminal background check either.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So all this gets pushed. It goes to the district attorney, and this parent is calling and calling and calling, and trying to get details on the case. She speaks with the district attorney. She speaks with the assistant district attorney, and they're still reviewing. She said they don't have the manpower, the resources to
What?
review all 420 hours of video.
What?
So
No, wait. My response is you don't need to review all 420.
right,
You need to see 2 minutes.
right.
Are you kidding me?
It's a tactic.
So this is what,
Are you kidding me?
This is the information we're getting, and it's just delaying the process,
Really?
right? And at the same time this is going on, This new school, he starts being abused again, physically abused
Yeah, this
by
is-
multiple staff members, including the principal of the school.
What's the principal of the school's name?
I do not know the principal. I have it written down, but I do not know
Okay,
it.
what's the
But
school?
that school is
What's the name of the school?
the two schools that
Mm-hmm.
he was abused at were Lexington Creek and Colony Bend
Lexington
Elementary.
Creek Elementary.
So those teachers are no longer there. Those staff members are no longer there.
How about the principals?
Were they just frustrated with dealing with this
Wait,
child? or-
wait. This is important. How about the principals?
I don't know about the principal of the first school.
Because
I
let
know
me
the
tell you what
second
happens
school,
at
the
schools.
principal is not
I have
there.
represented a lot of teachers, and let me tell you what happens. There is you see it with the teachers' unions nationally. Bullying is what they do, and I've heard from teachers there's like a mean girl dynamic going on. Remember Mean Girls?
Yeah, right.
Where this is what they do. It's corrupt federal government and then all this TEA money, right, at going to the districts, and they use people in power, principals, staff, administrators, to keep all the good teachers in line. And if you're a good teacher and a whistleblower, you're going to get retaliated against by people.
Right.
These people make a bunch of money. They sit in their offices, and all they do, they're like, I'm sorry, like you see it at, academic institutions. They're bullies, and they're protectors of the money, the graft, and these folks. And these corrupt folks put these people in positions of power, administration in this school district, for example. And all they do is they don't do anything to help the kids. All they do is, in essence, they run human resources damage control to go after good teachers, whistleblowers. So they are basically, hey, we need to make sure we're keeping control of this. Good teachers like this come in, we're toast. Because all it takes is, now imagine me at that school as a teacher. It wouldn't go well.
Right.
Because if I was a teacher, what would I say? What's happened to all these other teachers that were abusing? Why is the principal? Let's go to court. You think they'd want to do that?
No,
Do you think they would want to keep me as a teacher and an employee?
absolutely not.
They would
Right.
fire me. That's what they
Yeah.
do. Now, if you don't have a lawyer and you're about to lose your livelihood and you're supporting a family, this is how they operate.
Right.
It's mafia tactics.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
the
Yeah,
kids
and
are
I-
last on the.
And I am
agenda.
sure there were many tactics that were going on behind the scenes with everything that transpired, right? So
Lexington Creek Elementary. So the principal at the time.
I don't know if that principal is still there in the first school. The second school, I do know that the principal is not there.
Okay.
But I don't even remember where I was in the story, but in the process of trying to get the case moved forward in the district attorney's office against the teacher at the first school, he started being abused at the second school in the same program. And so basically she made the decision to remove her kid. I can't put him back there, right?
Absolutely.
I don't know what I'm going to do as a single
Absolutely.
mom, but I'm going to figure it out. Like,
Absolutely.
I can't keep putting him
No.
back in this position.
She did the right thing.
And through this process, Angela was the one that dug up policy. Angela was the one that dug up information and researched day and night, like countless nights, of information to help push this forward, right? And learn. When at that point we all knew, hey, you can request the video, and we knew how, right? So that parent starts to request the video from the second school, and the video doesn't work. The camera doesn't work.
I've seen this with police departments that's the first thing you bring up in court. Where's the
Right.
video? I hope you didn't
Right.
destroy evidence.
Yeah, I think that
So,
when,
and it gets better though,
go,
because
please.
the camera didn't work. That was a new classroom, and so by school policy, we have like 30 or 45 days after we submit the IT ticket to get the camera in there. So then he's in a different room, and it does have, or he's in the hallway, and something happens, and they do have a camera. So she requests the video, and then all of a sudden, when before she is able to view it, it's gone. It magically disappeared. Nobody knows where it's at. So she's never been
this
able
is
to.
As far as the law goes, when you send a letter and say preserve all evidence, it's called a preservation of evidence letter, a notice of rep. Anybody can do it. You send a notice of rep as an attorney and say, not only am I representing this client, but this letter cites the preservation of evidence statute in Texas, which says as soon as you get put on notice, you are to preserve all evidence, all emails, phone calls, video, everything related to this legal matter. If you do not, if you destroy that evidence, guess what a jury gets to decide, a judge? They're going to get to decide out of hand that information you destroyed was very, very damaging to you.
Absolutely.
Right, and in my opinion, right,
And depending on
it's
the
just my
deletion, it could be
assumption
criminal.
that it was destroyed because the staff, the principal had called this parent and told her after I viewed, the video footage or, we have to view it first, right? Their HR and them, and so they had admitted to actually being able to view the footage, and then it was gone.
Well, I think there was a case where KP George got pulled over by a police officer early in his career as county judge, and the officer's recording went missing. Right? Yeah. So this always seems to be happening, but
So same thing with the case that went to the DA. All of a sudden, they were like, "We don't have enough evidence."
Because you know how in a campaign stuff like that. Remember, like with Beto, police footage, that kind of stuff. That's public record and
Yeah.
can be aired.
okay. So we're gonna
Right.
say because we got 9 minutes left.
So district attorney's office determined that they didn't have enough evidence to press charges against the teacher. In that process, a TEA report was issued that they went through all 421 hours of video footage. And if you were to read that, it would make your stomach turn, the findings from the TEA, and then to hear the DA say, we don't have enough evidence. Something's fishy.
Who is
right?
the DA?
Who? I don't remember. I have it all written
Is
down.
it Fort Bend County DA?
Fort Bend County.
Is it our current DA?
I believe so.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's an associate DA that's assigned.
It might
to
be, yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, give me that assistant DA's contact information.
Okay. Say that last part again. TEA. Make that last
So
point again.
TEA issued a statement after reviewing all 21 hours of video footage that was disturbing. Their findings were very, very disturbing. And they even stated that in their report. And then we learned from the district attorney's office that they don't have enough evidence to pursue charges.
So TEA saying, "Holy cow, we have something big here," and the DA's like, we see nothing. What? Sergeant Schultz on Hogan's Heroes. I see nothing. I see nothing.
Yes. And the parent even
but
questioned.
that's when the TEA should ratchet it up, saying, "You've got plenty. What's the problem?"
What were you gonna say?
Their own attorney should.
And I
be-
think there's a line of not everybody understands some of the processes and
unless
how.
the TEA, there might be somebody at the TEA that's.
Okay, go ahead. Finish up that
I
point.
think, as a just general public, right? We don't understand what an attorney understands. And when her as a parent starts reaching out to all these attorneys, like, I need somebody to
Yes,
help me,
yes,
right?
yes, yes.
And they're all saying, my hands are tied. Texas
why-
Claims Act,
I-
my hands
I'll-
are tied.
Just an offer. I won't charge anything, but just you can always ask me.
Okay, what's Texas Claims Act?
So that's a great question.
Tort
I'm
Claims Act.
still,
Texas Tort Claims Act?
researching. I'm still researching it, but it's a protection for
Yes,
school
governmental
districts.
immunity.
Yeah.
You can't sue a school district easily at all.
No, it's very, very
And
difficult.
unless, like, I've done a case like this. It's so hard. For example, it's got to be an injury on a school bus. It's a very,
Or
very
civil rights.
Yeah, exactly. A protected category. So it's very difficult.
Okay, so
The exposure is the way, and that's what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Great, a great
you
job.
know, there's one more thing that came out of that conversation from Judy Day and Angela Collins, which is Judy Day stated that the TEA referred the former superintendent to the district attorney for bribery charges. Did I hear that right?
She did say something about a TEA report that she tagged Angela in. that
So why would we not want that audio to be put
There are a lot
out
of
there? I mean, like, there's just so much content on that audio.
It seems like there are a lot of powerful people interested in covering up what has been
Yeah.
happening with Fort Bend County
Yeah.
money and corruption. To put it in a nutshell.
G2, what are you thinking, man?
I think you guys are right on track. I'm looking at this budget. It's $828 million. And when you start breaking it down, just the increase year over year is something in the neighborhood of $15 million or more.
Where's it all
It
going?
is huge amounts of money. When you then begin looking into Fort Bend County's financial reports and the categories, the numbers are massive, and the categories don't actually tell you where the money's being spent or what it's being spent on. You know, a category like instruction is really not
Kind of
meaningful.
nebulous, huh?
Yes, it means nothing.
Instruction, no specifics.
Right. So I think that one of the great outcomes of this effort could be a deep dive into the actual use of funds by the Fort Bend Independent School District. And, you know, Madhu, you mentioned going back to the money that came out of the COVID funding, or ARPA, I believe it was called.
Yes.
That money swept into governments at all levels and swept out with very
Yes.
oversight or
Trickled
scrutiny
down.
and zero
From the
awareness
feds all
from
the way down to
public.
the local subcontractors getting the contracts.
Absolutely. So
In tens
it
of
would be
millions of dollars.
interesting- It would be interesting to see an analysis of, say, the last 4 or 5 years of the school district's disbursement.
Yes.
You know, sort of the way DOJ is auditing federal disbursements,
Yes.
and we are having epiphanies by the day that are astonishing.
Yeah, and as soon as that COVID money dried up, it's like getting a crackhead more crack. As soon as that money dried up, they started, the county officials started pushing bonds, record-setting bonds. I mean, they need their fix, you know?
It's astonishing how much money could be consumed, and the belief inside every government entity that they just need more. And there's never a concern, just because
Yep.
they're not typically concerned about the kids.
And not to
there's
be
never
held
a concern-
accountable. Not to be held accountable. It can't be voted out. You can't silence us. We're the monarchy.
And they're unresponsive to voters, and people can't figure out why. But the details of this spending the surge of COVID money that came through that then dried up caused a lot of these school districts, townships, counties, and other to incur permanent expenses. So they use temporary money for permanent expense, then they turn around and have to raise rates because it never occurs to them that they are already taking enough money, more even than they should, from the citizens.
True. They never think about cutting.
Well, guys, that's it, I think. I'm just going to say it again. This is on the citizens. We put it out there. It's out there for you.
Yep.
I don't like the entire idea of closing the lid on something. I want to get it out there. So it's out there. I know that's probably quite controversial in Fort Bend County, but I think that it's what we're trying to do is everything good for the county.
Absolutely.
Everything good for the children. The children are first. Done. End of story. So I appreciate everyone's time. I appreciate you, Attorney Madhu.
Thank you, Chris.
Your input's incredible. And I love
Thanks,
your
Chris.
perspectives, bringing national level
Yeah.
issues down and how the same thing
Yes.
happens on a smaller level.
It's the same formula.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing. And
Thank you
that's
so
a lesson
much.
for the voters and the citizens. Start getting suspicious, because I think there's a lot of things to uncover here.
Yeah.
Kat, really appreciate you. I think what you did is very courageous, and I do
Thanks
not
for
agree.
having me.
I
It's
do
very
not agree.
interesting.
I do
Very
not agree.
powerful.
Yeah, and I do not agree with the social pressure being put on you to keep your mouth quiet. I don't like that.
Well, I
don't
won't
agree
be
with-
quiet. I
Yeah.
won't be quiet.
And I
Good.
Don't, and I don't agree with. I'd like to say Angela also got Angela's campaign also got. She lost an endorsement from a fairly substantial Fort Bend County PAC. I will leave it nameless now. After hearing this, maybe they'll reconsider and reissue that endorsement to Angela
It
Collins.
was a recommendation, but yes.
Okay, it was a recommendation. But again, why are all these political players jumping the gun instead of uncovering the issue,
Right.
We sat here for an hour and a half, and I feel like we scratched the surface. But on one phone call, these political PACs are rejecting endorsements because it's the right thing to do, because they're they're the adult in the room. Okay, yeah, right. Have a nice day.
Yeah.
No, I really hope that group that they listen to this in entirety and let Angela know that she receives that recommendation. Again, I'll leave that pack nameless. So, and G2 causing trouble in the Midwest, right?
Everywhere I go.
There you go.
Great job, G2.
Yeah, well, we really appreciate you
Thanks,
too.
everybody.
Yeah, your input's incredible, and I totally agree with your point that 800 and so many million dollar budget, man, that thing needs to be scoured from end to end. And I think there's a lot of players that do not want that to happen, which is probably why there's so much pressure being put on us right now. But that's it, guys.
Well,
Go ahead, please.
you are doing great work. You know, to hear a group of citizens sit in a room and have this conversation about their school district is something that most citizens don't pay attention to.
Mm-hmm.
What you are doing is critical, not just for the kids, not just for the taxpayers, really to set a new standard in the country. So thank you for your work.
Yeah, I want to give one
Great
more.
job.
I want to give one more thank you, and I want to thank Radiodabang. You know, they are under a tremendous amount of pressure to silence this show. This is a fact, and they
Really?
stand. They are absolutely.
Of course, I know the Indian American community,
Well, I think
and these are the folks that I
they have
speak a lot of truth to, and I'm an equal opportunity critic, as you know.
We're
So,
getting tremendous support from the Indian
Democrat, Republican, Indian American, American.
We are getting tremendous support from the Indian American community in Fort Bend County. I fully appreciate them.
Because the community is very interested in education in children. That's how our families are.
They are embracing
That's
the American
the
spirit.
number one.
I think that they're embracing
Everything.
the American spirit, and
I agree.
yeah, but I just want to say again, Radiodabang, a Bollywood station bringing the truth. How about that? How about that? A Bollywood station bringing the truth. And
right.
the other thing I like to say about Radiodabang,
They can speak to certain issues in a way that others cannot as so easily.
you know, they bring all perspectives on this county. It's a tremendous impact that this radio station is having on the county. So we certainly appreciate Radiodabang. They're foundational to Fort Bend and Harris counties. Very few would have the courage to do what they're doing. With that being said, this is Chris Heasley with the Chris Heasley Radio Show.